I like that. That's really cool.
Intro thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is it? By the way, I don't even know where this is live. Is this live on LinkedIn Live? Is this live
Yeah.
on, where are
We're
we live?
live on LinkedIn. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Twitter or X or
Oh,
whatever
no
it's
shit,
called
really? Is that what
nowadays.
StreamYard does? It just kind
Yeah.
of pushes it out to all these places?
Yeah. And
Oh, that's pretty
Instagram.
rad. Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Oh, very cool. I feel famous.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see how many viewers we get on each of those
Eh,
channels, but we're
Well,
spreading the word, spreading the good
we,
word. So
we got to do some more to pump it up. We'll do some
yeah.
more promotion, and I think like if we start doing some snippets, that'll help us out as well. Looks like a nice day in the
Yeah.
city.
For sure. It is nice.
Dude, it was
And
so cold when I
thanks
saw you over the
for,
weekend.
yeah, I know. Yeah, it's been cold when our heater's out, so that's been kind of a pain.
Oh, it's brutal. Sorry to hear that.
And then they're not responding, of course,
No,
to
of
come
course
out and
not.
fix it. Like one
No.
technician's like, "Oh, we can come out on the 12th," and I'm like, "We have a 4-year-old. That's not gonna work."
Well, let's ask the question that we're going to talk about today. Is that because their compensation is screwed up?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I mean, maybe I should have offered them some variable compensation on the
There you
how
go.
fast they can get it done. But yeah, for everybody watching, you probably saw today Scott and I are going to be tackling compensation in go-to-market roles, primarily sales, I'd say. But I think this is going to span a few different roles, SDRs, SEs. I think that's a very interesting topic. And I think we've both
Yeah.
seen it in places where it's like maybe worked, it's maybe really not worked. And it's never something that like people really get right. Like there's always complaints about it. I've never worked somewhere where people are like, I love the comp model.
But at least everybody complains about it equally, right? Like salespeople
Yeah.
don't like it. The CFO doesn't like it. Like everybody kind of doesn't like
Hmm.
what they have, but they live with it because it's sort of like the best that anybody can accept.
Yeah. So, okay. So one thing then is it, do we even need that anymore? Like, should there, no other role
Oh
is paid
man,
like that? Like, do
you
we, like,
you,
why are
you
salespeople
are
so coin
kicking
operated?
you are kicking a hornet's nest here. Um, It's really interesting because like it is like one of the few like pay for performance roles. And now you could argue that, especially in like larger companies, like if you take like a Meta, I'll just use that because they just went through the thing earlier this year where they were paying people like hundreds of millions of dollars. And it
Yeah.
wasn't, I don't think that too many people got $100 million in cash or even $10 million in cash, but they certainly got it in RSUs and bonuses. And I'm sure a lot
Yeah.
of performance bonuses that are tied to that. I've talked to companies that give $500,000 a year bonuses, $1 million a year bonuses. If you look at like some of the FANG companies, they're giving that to other people, and in a lot of cases, and you probably remember this from Cloudinary when you were there. And this is something that I think that Adon did really well fixing. It was like there was a model where the salespeople didn't get bonuses, and the feeling was like, well, salespeople get
Yeah.
commission. That's part of their bonus, which I think is like a
Well, okay. Yes. So that's
reasonable
something
conclusion.
that, I mean, that's something that I would like to talk about too, because like I've traditionally like built up and run solutions teams, right?
Right.
And everywhere I've worked, Cloudinary, MoveWorks, Copy AI, Adobe, like you name it, Insighten, like the solutions team, it's like hand in hand with AE. Like you're,
Yeah.
if not like the solutions person handling the bulk of the customer conversations and doing what I would consider to be like the selling, where like the AE is like
Yeah.
quarterbacking, make sure everything's like moving forward, right? Like the actual seller is the SE. But then I'd have
Sure.
like situations where like we would close, like I'm just thinking like back to the Insighten days, like we would close like multi-million-dollar deal. Like, and I'd watch like the AE up in front getting handed like the big check with like
Yeah.
$300,000, and then like my commission comes in, and then I have to share it with everybody else. It's
You,
like 5 grand and like
yeah,
a
exactly. You get
gift
three
card to
grand.
Target or something. Yeah. Yeah. So that's like
yeah.
I get why people don't like it, because there is like an aspect of jealousy to it. I also
Yeah.
have talked to salespeople that don't like it, and I think like if you look at the stats, that the vast majority of sales, something like 77% of salespeople is the last number that I saw, like don't hit their number,
Right.
right? So I mean, like, should they even want it? But I think it's like that lottery ticket aspect, right? It's like, yeah, but I could blow it out this year and like make
Ev-
$1 million.
everybody loves the lottery ticket, and I think like that's one of the things that as salespeople, like that's what we're really drawn to. There was like an interesting post yesterday or the day before on LinkedIn about SEs not getting compensated, and I think we should talk about that because I really do. I agree with you 100%. Like I think that the SEs should be compensated. Now, to use your quarterback analogy, I know shit about sports, and anybody who knows me well enough knows that I know shit about sports.
Except for golf.
I do know golf, and even that
So
I'm not
caddy,
like really paying
it's like
attention too much.
a caddy and the player. Then let's use that analogy.
Well, yeah, I was going to use your quarterback, and Pat Mahomes makes $400 million in his contract, 40, $50 million a year. Like, all the quarterbacks are making 25, 30, $40 million a year. Like, who else on the team is making that kind of dough? And I don't think that there's like, it's not like the defensive
position players are
no,
the defensive linemen. I mean, Parsons. I know I'm probably I don't follow sports, but this dude, defensive lineman on the Cowboys, was just signed by the Packers for like $50 million a year, right?
Yeah.
You have position players like Justin Jefferson who are like, top of their game, running backs, things like that, who do make like similar amounts.
Sure.
Right?
And I suspect if you went out there, you could find an SE that's making $1 million a year. Like, I've got to assume that they're out there somewhere, but it's probably not all of them. And similarly, like, not everybody in the NFL or not everybody on the Kansas City Chiefs is making Pat Mahomes money. They're still important.
Yeah.
And you could argue like the coach as like the VP of sales or the CEO making significantly less than that.
Well, I mean, also Pat Mahomes makes that money whether they win the Super Bowl or not. Like he doesn't have to. Like the Chiefs are also like 500 or something this year. Like they're not even a winning team. And he's still making $50 million, so he's not hitting his number.
Right. I mean, and I would argue that that's a problem with the compensation in the NFL overall, like because they don't have a pay for performance model. They have I'm the engineer that just got signed for $100 million at Facebook. I'm going to do jack shit for the next 3 years and just ride into the sunset in my Bugatti.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, so like talking about like the SE model, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
By the way,
there might be.
My first job out of college, or my first like real technology job, was at the company called Borland, and I'm dating myself a little bit here, Rob, but we paid our SEs really well, and our SEs always went to club. Like, they had a number that they had to hit. Like, we treated them really, really well. At WebEx, I thought we treated them really well. At Yahoo, I thought we treated them well. Like, I've not seen too many organizations that kind of shits all over their SEs. Now, are they making the $300,000 commission check when a salesperson is? They're not, but they're probably making 30 on a comparable deal in a lot of the organizations that I've seen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's like 3 ways to set up that comp model, right?
Yeah.
There's like I always called it like there's the communist method, there's the socialist method, and there's the capitalist method, where like the communist method is probably like the most common, where like all the SEs just like share the global number, right? So like, or like their region or some like, some system like that. So then it's like you have like top performers who, like, how it works in sales. Like the AE wants the best SE at every single call, and all the AEs want the best SE, and then they get known, and then they're super overworked, and they're carrying the team, and they're making the same amount. I didn't like that.
Understandably so.
So I always set up my teams as kind of like more the socialist model, where there's like half the compensation was directly on the deals that you closed, and then the half was on like the team or global target. And like fully capitalist would be like it's like an AE, right? Like you carry your own number, and like your attainment towards that is what you get paid. So I think like the second model I like. One, because like, you go on vacation or like whatever, you need somebody to step in, like something like that. Like you want to have like kind of like a rising tide, like rises all ships sort of aspect to it. But you also want to have like the individual attainment, because eventually, like, if you're an SE, and this happened to me at a couple companies, where it's like, if I'm carrying the team, I'm going to go somewhere else. Like, why am I like busting my ass, and like, everybody else is making what I'm making, and I see them like not putting in the same level of effort. So there's I don't know. But like, to the larger point, it's like very hard to like set up a model in any compensation model that's like truly fair.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel about the SEs getting, their variable is a lot lower than their base salary? The percentage delta there like 70, isn't 30, the traditional, 80-20, something like that. It's not the traditional like 50-50 that you have with salespeople and even sales leadership, who do tend to take on a lot more of the risk. how do you offset for that, right? It's like you either
Well,
have
why is
to.
that different? Why is that different? Like I said, that always like blew my mind. It's like, why would SEs be like 80-20, 70-30, and then salespeople are 50-50, and
Yeah,
then one team works on this like communist style, and the other team is just like, lone wolf, like capitalist, like, you know,
yeah.
like why? Like, how did that get started? Like, at all? Like, why are they different?
You know what, Rob? I'm not even that old. I have no idea. Like, that was the way that it was when I started selling. So I just kind of assumed it was always that way. Yeah, I mean, like the salespeople do take on a lot more of the risk in exchange for a lot more of the reward. I suppose, like, let's go back to the original question of should you have variable compensation at all? And I think that if you sat down and you asked 10 sellers and 10 SEs, I would suspect that more of the SEs would say, I don't want any variable compensation. And I think more of the sellers would say, oh, I want to be like all in on variable compensation
Yeah,
to a certain
but
extent, right? Like there's a weird line that's in the market right now of like, you're not going to hire somebody for commission only, because I don't think anybody's going to sign up for that in this kind of market. But would you go to 25% as a seller and have like
yeah,
a 25% base, but then get 30 points on every deal versus 12 points on every deal?
yeah. I don't know. I mean, should sellers be able to choose that? I mean, this
Well,
is the other thing too. It's
wouldn't
all
that be
what
an
the
interesting
company
model?
offers. It
Wouldn't
would
that be
be,
an
right?
interesting model if you just said like you can take whatever you want,
Yeah.
and if you
Yeah. Do
want,
you
like,
want?
so let's just play that out. Like, if to your point, if 77% of salespeople aren't making their number, they would be stupid not to sign up for 75% guaranteed compensation.
Yeah.
Right, like that to me feels like a no-brainer, right? If you're going to get $400,000 in comp and variable, take 370 or 350 flat rate.
Yeah.
Great. I think a
I
lot
think
a lot of
everybody, like you said,
salespeople
everybody
have a
likes
lot
a
of ego.
lottery ticket. Yeah.
Well, I think a
Exactly.
lot of salespeople think that they're a lot better than they actually are too.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like
Right.
what was it, Nassim Taleb, The Fooled by Randomness? Have you read
Yeah.
that book? Yeah.
No, but I
I
like
think
the
there's a,
title.
yeah, I mean, it's like the whole idea is basically like Warren Buffett did this, where it's like, okay, you'll have like a mutual fund or something like that, or some sort of like investment brokerage. Like, hey, we've outperformed the S&P 500 for like 5 years straight, right? Invest with us. Now that's randomness, right? It's
Yeah.
the same like randomness in that like, yeah, if you have like 1,000 people together and you like have like a paper scissors rocks tournament, somebody has to win, right? Like somebody is going to win. That doesn't mean that they're like the best player in the world. It's just like that's the outcome of the game that they're playing, right? So like if you set up the whole tournament again, I bet most people would put their money on that person that won, right? Because they're fooled by randomness when really it was just randomness. And I think there's a huge aspect of that in sales where you think about like, yeah, like that account just happened to land in your lap, right? They were ready to buy and like it was $1.5 million deal. Does that mean you're super good? I don't know. Does it?
Well, I
Because
think a
I mean,
lot
I've
of it
seen
depends.
I've seen it both ways. I've seen bad
Like,
reps like hit their number, and I've seen really good reps struggle.
I've seen, but at the same time, I've seen really good reps take a $300,000 deal and turn it into $1 million deal. And
Yeah,
I've seen really bad reps take a $300,000 deal and turn it into a $150,000 deal because they're so eager to get something wrapped up.
yeah,
Like on the positive side of that, I would take that good rep who's been able to turn that deal around. I think like a really great rep is going to go figure out how to manufacture deals on their own. And that's what really separates, like, kind of the sellers who are making $1 million a year are the ones, I don't think there's too many sellers out there making $1 million a year where a deal just sort of fell in their lap and they're like, oh my God, look at this. I got this,
yeah,
$15 million deal that fell in my lap. Like every seller I know who's made a million plus figures out how to manufacture deals or figures out how to take an inbound opportunity and quintuple the
hmm
size of it to make it into something real.
yeah, yeah. I
Um,
mean, that's definitely true, right? I mean, there's like the four scenarios. There's like the killer rep who crushes their number and does that, and like maybe
yeah.
with some luck, right? Like good
Oh,
people
of
can get
course.
lucky too.
Yeah.
Then there's like the good reps that have bad luck who don't hit their number. Then there's the bad reps that have good luck, and then the bad reps that have bad luck. You know, I think it's like, I mean, even so, like going back to like the other thing, like how do you like, do you want?
That's some good LinkedIn content right there. That little matrix. We're gonna have to make that after this.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I was just like thinking about ultimately, like the business is the one paying this, right? You know, and how do they align? How do you align this with like the goals of the business? And like I think like going directly back to the place where you and I previously worked, you know, this was set up like really, really poorly. You know, because like you have a good rep who looks at this and it's like, hey, I could close this $24,000 deal right now and then grow that over the next year because like, yeah, as it worked at Cloudinary, like you would buy, they would use it, they would implement it, they don't rip it out, and they continue to grow. And then you have like an existing relationship and then you can upsell them, right? But reps weren't compensated on upsells. It was just on that initial land. So then a rep goes, okay, well, if I have 4 deals and I'm going to go for the 75,000, I'm going to try to increase that amount, 3x it to like 75,000. And even if that decreases my win rate by 50%, I'm still making more money.
Correct.
But that's way worse for the business.
Do you agree that compensation dictates behavior?
Yeah, that's the whole, I mean, that's the theory anyways, right? I think, yeah, to a certain, some people for sure. Some people are happy with their base salary. I'd say.
Yeah,
I've seen that too.
Exactly. And like, I have a theory. I was just talking to a buddy of mine this morning. I have a theory that like you should only hire people in really expensive cities where they can't afford to live on their base salary. And that because, you know, if I had somebody once in Atlanta and the guy was terrible, but he was like, yeah, I can live on my base salary. I don't need to make any commission.
Yeah.
You don't get to work here.
Yeah.
But if you live in like Midtown, if you live in Midtown Manhattan, like there's not too many jobs you can, you know, good sales jobs where you can live on your base salary. So I think like you want to figure out like what behaviors do you want to drive, and I think like that was one of the challenges when you were at Cloudinary, is that they didn't really think about the behavior. They thought about the behaviors that were potentially good for the company, but not necessarily good for the seller.
Yeah.
And part of it is like, how do you walk that fine line of like, well, this is the behavior that I want to drive. And you need somebody in your sales leadership that's going to think about like, okay, well, what are the trickle down ramifications of doing it that way? So to your point, like, okay, well, you know, what happens if we you know, kind of encourage people to go do these monster deals? Well, now you're going to get hit with churn. Okay, well, what happens if we encourage reps to do smaller deals? Well, they're not going to make their number because we can't feed them enough leads to do $25,000 deals a quarter, or whatever the math equals out to. It's called $25,000 deals a quarter to get to $250,000 a quarter. So then you have to go, all right, well, like if we're going to do it this way, then we've got to increase our spend in the marketing department to drive these more leads. Like it becomes real. It's a big exercise. Like it's like at Cloudinary, like, I mean, I probably spent in total maybe 50 or 60 hours like working on compensation. Like that's a full week of my life.
So if we like step back from that, that's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
Like under the assumption that having any variable compensation at all will lead to better outcomes. We just assume that, right? I don't even know.
I think you get better customers. I think you don't have reps like, well, I think you don't have reps who are selling their souls at the end of a month, quarter, a year to try and squeeze in a deal that's probably not good for the company.
Yeah.
Because they are worried about making their mortgage that month.
Yeah.
And it's like, look,
okay.
Like,
so
we're going to pay you. Yeah. We're going to pay you $350,000, but this is what the deals have to look like, and we kind of expect you're going to get, you know, 50 of them a year. We're going to give you 200 leads so that you have like a 25% close rate. Like you can map that out and make it good. And I think like what you end up getting is you probably end up getting a lot of like average but very nice salespeople.
Mm-hmm.
Just for a lot of companies.
So I wonder. So what about, because there's like spiffs and stuff like that too, right? So I mean, as if like the variable compensation model wasn't complicated enough, then there's usually, you know, spiffs and accelerators and like all this other stuff that's layered on top of that.
Yeah. By the way, just for the record, like I'm a big fan of like paying good performing salespeople a shitload of money. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of like paying good performing SDRs and good performing SEs and like anybody that helps bring in revenue, just fucking give them a ton of money, right? And like, but I'm also a fan of like if you're not a good performer, like you should get less money. And
Yeah.
like you,
Well, I
like
think, but
I'm
I
a big
don't
fan
think
of
that that's,
like a decelerating plan, or
yeah.
maybe have like accelerators kick in. I'm not quite sure how to say that, but
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I think that's like universal though. I think like, it's the same thing for engineers. If you have an engineer who's not, writing as much code or writing code that doesn't work as well, like they don't get paid as much, you know, they don't get promoted as fast. The really
yeah,
good ones get paid more. So I mean, like I don't like I get the theory of variable compensation,
yeah,
right? And like I think like for early stage startups, like ours, mine, like it does make sense because it's like less upfront while you're still trying to like test out the market, right? And
yeah,
see if there is product market fit, and like the risk on the company side is less at that
yeah.
point. But I think like once that's established, like I just don't know. Like I know like reps want, but maybe reps want stability, like maybe that is better.
It is, and I think like early on, like you're like I'll counter your point about being early stage and trying to find product market fit. Like, should that be up to the salesperson to figure that out, or like, and why does that risk fall on the head of the salesperson? And why are they taking a 50% cut in salary to
Yeah.
go figure that
Should it?
out?
No. Yeah,
I don't think
no.
so,
Should it fall on them? No. But I think like what it does is it does
but it
give you
does.
like a larger data set to like try
Yeah,
conversations with, and like until you land on that like message and whatnot that does work. Right. So I think like, is it on them? No. But hey, if they figure it out, there's a lot of upside there too. But I mean it's like basically, yeah, it's a
yeah,
way to like pay somebody less for doing the same amount
yeah.
of work.
And like, you can also, we did this at WebEx when we were launching that company. One of the things that we did there was rather than paying people percentage of commission, we just paid a flat rate. We just
Yeah.
said, for every deal that you close, it's over, God, I think at the time it was like over $200 a month or something like that. You
Hmm.
get $2,000. And that was
Yeah.
just like a pure like land grab. We don't know how much to charge for this. We don't know how to license it. Let's just go land grab stuff and get
Yeah.
people to sign contracts.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I like the logo thing better than the amount thing. The amount thing like
Yeah.
adds too many variables in my opinion, you know? Um,
I mean, if
it's
you have a
just
signed contract, you get 2 grand. Boom, easy.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, the other
Right.
thing that I think these like compensation models lead to is like that lone wolf mentality, right? So it's like it's very
Yeah.
competitive because like you lose your job if you're not like, in like the top cohort of sales. And like some companies like literally have a policy where, the bottom
Yeah.
X% are just cut every year, you
Yeah.
know?
Oracle's famous
Um,
for it.
so what are you going to do? Like if your compensation depends on some secret sauce, like, you have a colleague that, needs help, are you going to help them?
I mean, it's a very fair question, and I think like that's another area where I'm talking myself into getting rid of variable compensation here. Like if you don't have variable compensation, then it's like great. Hey, like look, like I'm going to help everybody out because we're in this like
Yeah.
community and we're trying to figure it out. And again, I think like you get, and now you're talking about like a different balance that you've got to walk. It's the, you know, absolute stalker, like lone wolf mentality. Like we had a joke at one of my companies that like like one of our top salespeople, the joke was like he had direct line into the nanny cam and was like just sending people like pictures of their children sleeping to get deals signed. Like if you don't sign this, I'm going to murder
I've
your
known a few
family.
people that might have done that.
um, but like they got deals done, but man, it was an awful wake left behind in that regard. And again, you're getting kind of ugly deals and you're getting deals kind of forced. And in a lot of cases, like those deals are going to churn. So it's
Yeah.
like, and nobody wants that. Like we can't have companies churn. So it's really important to do the right kinds of deals.
Well, I mean, that's
Um,
super important, right? Because like I've been on also earlier in my career, like on the delivery side, right? And I can't even
right.
tell you how many deals would land on me, and I have my first conversation with the customer, and of course I got zero context on the
Yeah.
handoff. So we have our kickoff call, and they're like expecting a bunch of stuff that like we don't do. And I'm like, what?
Right.
So like the salesperson's just promising them this stuff
Yeah.
without like it being possible. And yeah, that's not. They're unhappy. They're probably going to churn. They might. I had one customer who even like took legal action to get out of the contract. It just was not at all what was promised. I mean,
Dude, that's terrible.
yeah.
I ran a company where the CEO felt really strongly, because that was a problem. The CEO felt really strongly that, and the compensation model we built was you get 50% on signature, you get 25% on payment, and you get 25% on go live. And that 25% on go live, I do think makes a lot of sense, because it prevents salespeople from, it kind of holds a little bit of commission back and prevents salespeople from doing shit deals.
Yeah.
And I think like
that's. I mean, I still think that system's gameable, right? Like if you're in that system, I get half just on signing, right? 25% on payment. If I can close, 25% more deals by promising like bullshit, then
yeah,
that's like what I'm, that's kind of what I'm like. That's the behavior that I'm being told to do.
yeah.
Now a moral person who cares about such things wouldn't do that. But if it's like the difference between like making the mortgage and paying the car off or daycare, or like whatever that might be, all the stressors in life, like you do what you got to do.
Yeah, and I think eventually that's going to catch up to you. Like you're not going to have like, oh, here's Johnny, and Johnny's closed the last 25 deals he's closed, 0 of them went live, and we've only paid him 75% commission. And
yeah,
but not like eventually Johnny's going to get caught and be like, Johnny, you can't do that, or you can't work here.
Yeah, well, I mean, Johnny knows that that's coming though, and Johnny is also going to start looking for another job before that happens, and then leave all these opportunities that were being run with zero context off to, the next person who comes along to pick him up.
I think the moral of that story is we just get rid of Johnny faster.
Well, I mean, you have to. Yeah, I mean, that's a separate conversation, but yeah. Absolutely. I think that's really what it is, right? Like if you can understand like who the top performers are. I mean, there's other methods of reward that aren't new. Like they've been figured out with literally every other role in an organization, where you can reward somebody, like whether that's with like an equity grant or whether that's with like a promotion into the next level. That's one thing like AEs don't really have. I mean, there are like you're like a commercial rep, then you're like a mid-market rep, and then you're an enterprise rep, and then you're like a strategics or like maybe like whatever. But like still like the difference isn't all that great between those, But it's like, I don't know. Like there are other ways to do things like that, which have been proven to work and have proven to motivate people and get people working on the things that you want to work with without trying to like finagle some like super complex math equation to say like, if I give a spiff over here for this thing, and then like variable compensation on like new logos, but not renewals, but like 40% on renewals, and then growth is paid at 63%. And, there's all sorts of crazy things that I've seen.
I have a mentor of mine. He calls it the red light comp plan. And he's like, you should know exactly how much money you're going to make to the penny while you're sitting at a red light. And if you can't calculate it in that amount of time, your comp plan's too complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's entire companies out there that like exist to basically do that math for you and like make sure that like your compensation is paid out as the crazy comp plan set it up to be.
And you can implement exactly, and you can go spend $100,000 or whatever on exactly or any of those other compensation systems, or you can just go like, look, we're going to pay you 10%. And like every dollar that comes in, you get 10 points on it. And it's a pretty easy story to tell.
Yeah. Or you take all the ones that, performed above median and or average, however you want to calculate that. And, you give them a bonus at the end of the year, or give them a little equity grant or, extra RSUs or whatever that might be. So like they're still
all of the above.
Yeah. And then you still like, just like any other job, if there's underperformers, you get rid of them,
So is that your argument for non-variable compensation? Just pay a flat rate?
I don't know. I'm honestly not sure where I land.
Are you talking yourself into it?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot. Yeah, I started off as like I brought this up as almost like a straw man argument. Now I'm like, maybe this is how it should be done.
You know what I mean? Because look, like quota is like a made up number. Like if you
Yeah,
think about like, how is quota created? Like I put a lot of thought into like allocating quotas out there, but at the end of the day, you're kind of like finger to the wind, going like, okay, we can generate this many leads, we've got this many sellers, we can divide all of that stuff out, and the average seller
I mean,
should bring in $1 million a year.
ironically, the places where it's not finger to the wind, where you can calculate it, are like the established organizations where you can like nail your forecast before the year's even started because you have
Right.
so much like history and numbers to go on. And those are the organizations where there's like the least chance that you're gonna make $1 million a year. Like if you're a salesperson, you want a lottery ticket, like you don't work for a company like that. Like you work for a startup where it's like, hey, they give me $1 million number. I don't know, maybe I can like bring in
Yeah.
10 million next year and like retire. You can't do that at like a really, really big company because like you just can't. Like it's already established. Like they already have modeled all that out and they know exactly like what the average and median are going to bring in.
Yeah. And then again, it kind of goes back to being like the difference between an average rep and a great rep at those companies is like the great rep is going to go figure out how can I make $1 million? Like, how do I back into $1 million W-2? And a lot of ways it's like, all right, well, you're going to have to go, you've got a 3 million, you work at Oracle and you've got a $3 million number. It's like, okay, well, how can I make that into a $10 million number?
Yeah.
I learned early in my career, like that's how if you want to make a lot of money in sales, like back into like what you want to make and then just go shoot for that goal.
Well,
And
I
it
wondered,
requires you to do a lot of
didn't
outbound.
Oracle didn't Oracle close like some sort of like 30 billion or $60 billion deal with OpenAI or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how that worked. Like that, you start to get into like really weird numbers in that regard. But there was the deal at one point, Walmart, they might still be. Walmart was the largest Workday client, and Workday had to say, like, we just did, I think the deal was $100 million. And it might have been like the largest SaaS deal ever done at one point. And there was a lot of speculation, like, does that seller get accelerators on that? Like, how did that salesperson get paid? But I'd
Yeah.
like to think, like, even like, um, you know, I think like if those things will fall in your lap once in a while in a career, and it's like, oh wow, okay, this worked out. This is pretty good. Now,
Yeah.
did he get paid $25 million on a $100 million deal? Probably not, but he probably walked away with 10, right? Which is pretty like
Yeah.
I worked on the deal for 3 years, and like that's pretty good. That's pretty good ROI on that,
Yeah. Yeah. I'd take 3 million a year. That's
right? Oh, but you're probably
that's
also
pretty
making
good.
like $0 a year for 3 years. So it's like you have to figure out like what is your float and like how do you float that, or were there other deals that guy was working on and or girl or
Yeah.
whoever that
Well, I
was
mean, there
that was
must have
working on.
been. Otherwise, like those first 2 years, they're not performing very well, right? You brought in zero
Right.
dollars again, Steve. Like, what
Yeah.
the hell, man?
Right. And then it gets into like the weird conversation, like, okay, well, is Workday your only account? And or sorry, is Walmart your only account? And you're just going to go, and you kind of go into it going like, okay, this is probably a 5-year sales cycle, and if I can do it in 3, then that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And like I have a buddy of mine, he did $100 million deal he was at HP, and he did $100 million deal, and I think his compensation on it was like 5, but it was like the only deal he did all year, and
Yeah.
they loved him.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they did, right? And I'm sure
Yeah.
he loved it too. But then let's think of the risk on that. It's like you either make 5 million or zero.
Yeah, basically.
It's
Yeah.
pretty binary, right?
Five million or 125,000 in
Yeah,
base
that's like
salary.
put it on red or black here,
Yeah.
right? Like that's what I mean. Like the pure lottery ticket thing. Like there is like one like those scenarios are like super rare to find, right? There's
Sure.
not a lot of people that actually make that amount. Um, and I don't think you like build an entire compensation. Like okay, so you said that you've put together comp plans
Yeah.
lots of times, right? Like if you were to start from scratch today, say with like a company, 50 people, Series A, growing, and
Yeah.
you're starting to build out like the sales team, like what would you do?
I would want to understand, like, is the number one is let's start with the basics. Like, is the goal revenue or is the goal logos? Right. And then that is determined by like how much cash do you have in the bank, right? If I've got
Yeah.
50 million in cash, then my goal might be logos because I just want to go do a land grab and get everybody. If I've got $2 million in the bank and we're just kind of like living on or ramen profitable, then I would go, okay, like revenue is the most important thing. And like, we're just going to like crank up the volume on variable compensation to say like, look, like normally like we would pay you 10%, but we're going to do 15% on every deal. Or like once you get to, 0 to 500 grand, let's say it's $1 million quota, like 0 to 500 grand, we'll pay you at 7%, but 500 to $1 million, we're going to pay you at 15. And once you get to accelerators, it's like 22 and 25 or something like that. Like really make it super attractive. And then it becomes like, what's the hiring profile for people like that? Because like in that kind of model, you just want absolute fucking killers who are going to be like, I'm going to go get revenue no matter what. And the downside of that, to your point earlier, Rob, is like, you might get some deals that don't go live. You'll get you'll get a lot of cash, but you might have some,
you're going to have to, you're going to
80% of them might go live versus 100% of them.
Yeah. And then as a Series A company, that's not good.
It's not bad. Like, it's not great, but it's like shit, I ran Badgeville and that product didn't even work. So
I mean, it's like, it's risky.
I ran sales there for 4 years and made the number in and out. And we didn't even have a product to sell. We were just selling like an API with a fancy front end.
So that's another interesting thing that I've seen too. I've seen like really bad products with really good sales teams do really well, and I've seen really good products with like really bad sales teams not do well.
Yeah.
So there is something to there are things you have to figure out. I'd say it's like more on maybe the hiring profile side than the compensation model, but maybe like the profile that you're going after wouldn't accept anything except for like a high risk, high reward sort of compensation model.
Yeah. And like if you have I feel like Cloudinary, you could have a comp plan that was pretty static and didn't move for you a whole lot because the product worked great, PLG led, kind of sold itself a little bit, worked really well. People could see value in it right away.
Yeah.
And as a result, it's like, oh, do I really have to pay out 20 points on a deal occurrence? Nah, not really. Like, and that's like where a model, like if you have that, to your point earlier, Rob, like that's where you could probably just have like a flat rate comp plan. Whereas like early stage, it's like, look, like we've got to shit or get off the pot here in the next, we've got cash for 12 months. We have to get to the next round. Let's go find some killers to come in here and at least show revenue, and we'll get, if they close, let's just say hypothetically, they close 50 deals in a year. If we have 10 of them that are really happy and talking about it, and 40 of them who are like, it's okay, but we paid for it, so we'll keep using it. Like those 10 will make a big difference in going to get that next round.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing too. I mean, like being the early stage startup going through our fundraising process right now for our next round, like you got to think it is kind of like backwards though. I mean, just like going through this like myself, this is going to be like a total aside to like the regular conversation. Like the metrics that investors look for like aren't necessarily the metrics that are actually good for the business.
That's the VC model, huh? Like what's an example?
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, so like they're after, it's like high risk, high reward, right? Like they'll make 1,000 bets, and if like one of them hits, like that's their model, right?
Yeah.
And so like they're after like I'm going to invest in this company because it has that potential to be a unicorn, but I'm only going to invest in it like if like we can push them to do the things that a unicorn could be. And I think it kills a lot of businesses that like have viable products and like could have made it if like given more leeway to actually like build strong fundamentals versus just like straight go for it. I'd say I thought like picking on folks, I don't know. I don't want to. I have some examples. I don't know if I really want to like say exactly what they are.
Another thing that we did at Badgeville, and I don't remember what the number was, but I remember it was a pretty big number because we had raised a lot of cash. We had part of our comp plan was like, will the client issue a press release? And if we could get I think we were paying like $5,000 or something like that to the seller, if they could get the client to issue, or to the CS person, like anybody who could get the client to commit to a press release would get like $5,000. And what that allowed us to do was like we were cranking out press releases, almost weekly. But like it created such a buzz in the marketplace that just fed to more customers coming in and more sales being driven as a result. Like that was a pretty good model.
Yeah, I like that. I mean,
The
like
other
in
thing,
our MSA, we have logo usage and case study just like included in the boilerplate, like MSA, because
like
it's super
everybody does,
important.
yeah. And most of the time, like that's the first thing that they scrap, and you kind of have to like beg and plead, and then you have to go back to them and be like, hey, remember how you said there was going to be a press release? Well, can we do that now? And like, so like the thing that we were pushing for was like press release on signature. It was awesome. Like it generated a ton of buzz for us.
Yeah. How would that just like be in the standard agreement? This is like totally not what we were supposed to be talking about, but
no, I agree.
That is interesting.
The we're going to use your logo and do a press release was in the standard agreement. And most people would scrap it, and then it was kind of up to the salesperson to go back and say, hey, look, like it's really important to us. We're an early stage company. We're trying to figure it out. We would love to, I'll give you 10% discount if we can do this. And like every salesperson like figured out like, oh, the 10%, like the bonus that you get for doing a press release is better than, the 10% discount in most cases.
Yeah.
So just do that.
Yeah.
And more often than not, people would go, you know what, let me go talk to my lawyer and see if it's okay. And then they'd come back and they'd say, oh, Rob, okay, we'll accept that. But like, you have to ask permission and we have to be happy with the product. And it's like, hey, all we want to do is just like write a quick press release that says, Comcast just partnered with Badgeville and we're excited. And here's what we're going to do. And you're going to give us a quote and blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be 2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
But that thing going out once a week on the wire just showed like, oh, wow, this company is really getting traction.
Yep. Yeah, I like that.
It was that was a good model. The other thing that we did, which is like, as you get a little bit further down the road, like we gave like a $25,000 bonus to any customer success rep that could get a badge to their client's building. Because it showed like, well, what it did was it showed that the client had like a tremendous amount of trust in the person. It showed that they really got value out of that person being there. And it showed that the CS person was able to build this amazing relationship with the client to the point where they were trusted enough. So like, there's a lot of value in that person being on site and helping them out. So
I like that. Yeah. See, I'm all for like interesting. I like the idea of spiffs more than variable comp.
What about
I think those are like one-off things that you can like directly align to a behavior that you want, and I feel like those things are like common in other roles too, where it's more like spiff bonus type stuff. For like, if you do this thing that I want you to do, that would be good for you, and it would be good for me, and like those things where it's like mutually aligned, it's good. It's like really, really hard to do that just with like straight variable comp.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And I think again, like, how do you make sure that your sellers are doing exactly what you want? And you can throw out like a bunch of spiffs there. Like you can go back to the press release and you can go back to the logos and you can go back to all kinds of different things to say like, look, instead of just paying you 12 points on this deal, I'm going to give you 12 grand if you do X, Y, Z, A, B, and C. So you've got $2,000 for each one of these little variables that you can go do to make your 12 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And one is, okay, are they live and happy? Will they do a press release? Did they actually sign? Did they give you a customer reference? Is there like, we could come up with like a couple of dozen of these things that you could throw in there. And in a lot of ways, like the seller probably would make more money if they accomplished all 6 of those things than they would if they just did here's a $25,000 deal. Now, I think where CFOs get a little skittish on that is, oh, you're paying $12,000 on this $25,000 deal.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, yeah. I mean, because he did all the things we wanted him to do, and therefore it's like a lot more valuable than just a $25,000 deal.
Yeah. Marketing considerations and all the other intangibles that are hard to measure.
Oh, yeah. We had like a big bonus, I think, at Dynamic Signal for like speaking at a conference. Like if you'll speak at the conference on our behalf, if we can convince you to do that. That was a big one.
That one, that one's a cool one.
That was a great one.
When I was in college, I used to wait tables at the Macaroni Grill. I don't think those restaurants are around anymore. Right. We used to get paid on how many appetizers we sold and how many desserts we sold.
Oh yeah, there you
Maybe
go.
like $1 or something like that for each one. But as a college kid, like, hey, $5, it's like a beer after work or whatever.
Well, yeah, and hopefully you're not just working one table with 5 people. You're working 15 tables that flip over 3 times, and like,
Yeah.
hey, maybe there's like some extra fry money in that, and
Yeah, you turn around the
you
ones
know,
that like you drop off the check early if like they're not looking like they're gonna buy a dessert or something. That's
yeah,
like get them out of
exactly.
there. Yeah,
Time to get
table.
going.
Yeah,
You're playing the Oscar music and everything.
yeah.
What
So
about for SDRs? Like, how do you think about comping SDRs?
no
Like,
man, that's yeah, that's a really interesting one. So I think like in an ideal world, so I think it's a mix of two things. Like I don't think booking for like paying on like booked meetings makes a ton of sense. I think a qualified pipe, like if you're gonna pay for anything, right? Like
yeah,
has to be qualified. And I've seen like that system can be gamed a little bit, but like reps don't want to like drop their conversion rate too low, so they're not like always willing to like qualify and not, you know,
yeah, exactly.
uh, for their
So
friendly
what would you
SDR,
say?
but
Like
sometimes they will.
once it gets to stage X, then therefore it's considered qualified, and
Yeah, whatever you decide qualified
yeah,
is, right? Stage one, stage two, like whatever, like second meeting book, second meeting happens, something like that. I do also really like the idea of paying on a deal closed, right? And you go after the ones that you think actually have a chance of closing.
yeah,
Understand who it is that we closed with, understand why they bought, understand what that messaging is, and go out and find more people like them, and then use the words that they used themselves to describe the value with their lookalike cohort, right? That's the best behavior to put forward. And like if you could pay them,
yeah,
the SDR gets paid what, like anywhere from like 50 $250, like a meeting, qualified meeting, whatever it is. If they can make like 5-10K when a 100
yeah.
$200,000 deal closes, like they'll go after that for sure.
Oh, absolutely. The I tried to roll that out at Dynamic Signal, and the SDRs hated it, and they hated it because we had such a long sales cycle. It was like a 6 to 9 month sales cycle that they
Yeah.
were like, I don't care. Like that's made up money in my mind, and I'm never going to see it. So you kind of have to like balance that. But I do like I love the idea of it, especially if you have like a faster sales cycle. Like if your sales cycle is less than like 45 or 60 days, like
Yeah.
yes, definitely implement that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's the other thing too, where it's like, yeah, it takes like, so maybe then you give them like um, I don't know, like a ramp period or something like that, like you would like a salesperson, where you're
No,
like covering their.
these were even like established SDRs. They were like, yeah, we don't want to wait that long. Just pay us like
Really.
make it 500 a meeting versus 250, and we're all good. No,
Yeah.
nobody wanted to wait the 9 because a lot of people were concerned like, oh, am I even going to work here in 9 months? Like SDRs, like those roles turn over real quick.
Yeah, they do.
So it's like this promised compensation, but I do like that model a lot.
Well, I think it makes a lot more sense. I think in the world where we're in right now, with like all the AI SDRs that are like automating like the busy
Yeah,
work, where it's like, hey, like we can blast like bullshit emails and LinkedIn messages at any number of people that we want at any scale that we want. So that's not the value that the SDR brings. Like they become more strategic, right? That's what they have to do. Like, okay, like if I get paid on deal closing, then it's a good amount of money. Like then you got to be more strategic. You got to find those. You got to figure out like how to act. They're getting emails from everybody. How do you actually get in front of them? You go to
yeah,
the meetups. You go to the industry events. You do all those things. And I think like in today's world, like those are the things that you have to do. So I think like I feel even stronger about that sort of compensation model for SDRs than I ever have, because just the
yeah.
traditional model just isn't. It's broken. It's not working anymore.
No, I agree. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Is there any technology out there right now that's tracking? I'm an SDR and I met Rob at XYZ conference, and now now he's a lead, and I've set up a meeting with him. Like, is there a way to track that, or is it just still all like, oh, you take all these handwritten notes and then you come back to the office and you type it all up, and then you send Rob the email, say, hey, confirming we're on next week, and all of that stuff. Is there anything doing that?
Yeah, I mean, like we are to an extent, but it's not like designed for SDRs necessarily. It's more like tracking somebody from the whole funnel, marketing touch
Yeah,
points, this activity. Then you scan their badge and event. we dedupe that, we assign that activity to the same
Mm.
contact, like whatever touch point that there might be.
Yeah.
But then you get into this other thing where it's like, okay, when you look at it that way, like you realize that there's probably a lot more touches than just like the SDR meet them at the industry event. Maybe they registered for a webinar, signed up for the newsletter a long time ago, or commented on a LinkedIn post or something like that, right? So then you get into like attribution modeling, which I think is like no one's ever figured that out. There's entire tools that just do like attribution marketing modeling on the marketing side that like still it's like you just like pick what model you think is best, first touch, last touch, blended, like whatever, but
Yeah.
like you really don't know. It's like very hard to pinpoint like this is the point where they decided to buy our solution. Yeah,
dude, anybody that figures out attribution is going to be a trillionaire.
yeah,
I feel like that's like
possible.
I don't think it's possible either, but if somebody figures it out, like then that'll be good. But it's interesting, like how many CFOs like don't necessarily care about attribution, or they're like, the scary part about that though is then they don't want to fund things that could drive more leads because there's no way to track the attribution on it. Marketing's so tricky.
Marketing is super tricky, and like they all have. I mean, like we talked about this before too, but just like the difference between an MQL and an SQL. Like I have a friend who has a company, and they were like, where the hell are all the leads coming? And they're like, where are they? Like, we just stopped getting leads all of a sudden. And they couldn't figure it out. And it turns out that they like instituted some system through one of the agencies. They were one of the big name agencies that they had worked with to like fix their like go-to-market system. Actually, I know which one it is, but I'm not going to say their name.
Yeah, but anyway, like disparage somebody.
Well, it turns out that like MQL was only created if they did 2 of 3 things, right? So like one of them was like register for some event, like a webinar or something like that. Another one, I can't remember what the other one was, but then one of them was like submitted the contact us form. And so if the people who submitted the contact us form didn't also do one of those other things, they weren't considered an MQL. So they were just like losing all these people that were literally reaching out to them, asking to buy or have a demo or at least a conversation.
I want to give you some money.
And they're like, no, they need to have 2 things before we qualify them.
It's so important to sit down and like really truly define that and make sure that everybody's on board with, what is an MQL, what is an SQL, and everybody has to agree to it and everybody has to be on board with like, okay, yeah, this is official now because it's gone through this step or these 3 steps or whatever steps they are.
Should they have different definitions?
MQL and SQL?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
I feel like marketing qualified means like they're ready. They are appropriate for the company, right? Like I feel like there's a lot of, so if I was going to GTM engine a marketing qualified lead, I would say any VP of sales / CRO at companies with more than 25 salespeople, right?
Well, it's just like ICP though. I wouldn't say it's like a marketing qualified lead. They have to like have some sort of like interaction, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like though, I came to your website, I filled out a form. Okay, I'm marketing qualified. All right, well then the salesperson talks to him and says, okay, well when do you want to buy? I don't. I saw the advertisement for it and I thought it seemed like cool technology, so I'm interested in like learning some more. I wouldn't say that that's a sales qualified. I would say it's definitely marketing qualified, but I wouldn't say that it's a sales qualified opportunity because I've said like, I don't have any money and I'm not ready to buy anything.
Yeah.
And maybe a good salesperson can convert me. But if I don't have like that pain and that like, oh shit, like, I don't like the way that my team's using Salesforce and they need more coaching while they're in the deal and they need more support in terms of like routing things and they need some more ideas on like, how do you follow up on these things? Like if I said that, and oh, by the way, I've got $50,000 to spend on that, then that's definitely a sales qualified opportunity.
So my issue with having 2 different definitions is that like marketing, they'll always like flash up these slides at like the board meeting or whatever. Here's how many MQLs we had. It's like, well, why the hell are we like hitting 50% of our targets then? If you guys are crushing on MQLs.
Yeah.
And the second thing is like oftentimes they get to MQL and then they're like, cool, we're done. Like that's
Yeah.
our job, is just to get MQLs, because that's our primary metric that we measure ourselves on and how we report ourselves and our success. But that isn't tethered to like, are they actually becoming customers?
Yeah.
So I think you do need like a shared definition, or at the very least, like in a mutually agreed upon distinct definition for what an MQL and an SQL actually is, where like sales is like, okay, that's legit. If like,
Right.
if somebody does these things and they fit like these demographic criteria or like whatever, then sure, yeah, you can call that an MQL, because I think we can take it from there, and that's fair. But oftentimes they just like, they're self-defining their own definition for what, because then like sales on the other side is like a sales qualified lead, like they're almost like, I don't want to call it a sales qualified lead until it's like in procurement or something, you know, because it's like, look, like we're converting, like anytime something's
Wow.
an SQL, like,
Yeah, you're doing that early to me. Like, yeah, it's not qualified until it's signed. I think like they're like this is where like sales and marketing have to get on the same page, and they have to sit down and they go, okay, like, well, what does marketing qualified actually mean, and like what does MQL for our company actually look like? And it can't just be like, oh, you're going to put me on the phone with Rob. It has to be like Robert is qualified because of X, and maybe like Robert's qualified because he clicked the box and said, I'm interested in buying something, or at least I'm interested in learning more, or it's, you know, to your point, like I've filled out the contact us form, and I have I'm 85 on the 6 Sense meter or whatever the hell you're tracking there. Like there has to be like a little bit more than just like
don't get me
Scott
started on the 6 Sense meter.
yeah, no, I agree with that. Is Scott a CRO with a pulse? That's marketing qualified? No, like that can't be marketing qualified.
Yeah. All right. One last question. We're about out of time and I do got to run, but how does this work with, say, like where we were at, like Cloudinary, like PLG type stuff?
Yeah.
Because I have a buddy who's running sales at like another like super PLG heavy company and like struggling to close enterprise deals. It's like, how do you set up a comp model?
But I mean, I would say that the comp model is not why he's struggling to close deals. Like it's not like he's got like a bunch of salespeople on strike going like, oh, I want some more money, then I'll go close that deal. If he does, then like just fix the comp and just give him more money for now.
But I mean, okay, so I'm thinking about this like higher level. So like,
yeah,
let's say CEO is looking at this and they're like, hey, we got this thing driving in a ton of money, people, leads that are also willing to pay us at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. So we're at like, you know, whatever, we got like 40 million in revenue. I want to see if there's something enterprise here, right? So you have a sales team. So what do? Like, if it's not working after a month, do you say like it's a comp model thing?
Oh, so you're saying that they want to dip their toe into like, what does enterprise look like? And is there like an enterprise opportunity here?
Yeah.
I would probably either go hire like 2 enterprise sellers, or more likely take 2 of your existing sellers and promote them to enterprise sales team, and just say, we're going to run this experiment and we're going to pay you 100% on any deals that you bring in, but here's what the deals have to look like. Like really define like what should an enterprise deal look like, because you don't want them to go like, oh, you know what, I did a deal with General Electric, but it was only 12K or whatever a year. Like that's not really enterprise. It's just like somebody in a department. So you really have to define like what enterprise looks like, and then give them like 6 to 12 months to go figure it out. Like I wouldn't do that. Like I wouldn't go that big on that experiment. I would take 2 people.
Yeah. So you wouldn't have like a 50-50 split sort of thing. I don't even know how you could do that, because like how the hell would you even like come up with like, we expect you to hit like $1.5 million this year or something like you pull that out of your ass. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, like I tend to be pretty scientific about it and want to sit down and go like, all right, well, what is like, how many enterprise leads can we get? Like true, like enterprise, like I'm ready to sign up for my entire company. Like, again, like I think a lot of people mistake enterprise for, I did a deal with a department at a big company.
Yeah, like a 5K deal with the junior marketing team at
exactly, JP Morgan, right? Like, oh well, that's not enterprise. Like that's just a departmental level deal with a junior marketing guy that had put 5,000 on the company credit card. So you really have to define like what that looks like, and then I would have 2 people like really give it a run. and
Yeah.
you know,
You
kind
have
of,
to. You also have to be willing to like build the product too, right? Because it's like,
yeah,
is there anything that you're offering to enterprises above and beyond that they can just like get by slapping down their credit card?
yeah, yeah. And in a lot of cases with PLG, it's not. You're just,
Yeah.
you know, I think like the challenge we had at Cloudinary was how do you accelerate revenue growth? Like, yeah, I can sign up, put it on my credit card, and I'll spend $500 a month now, and then maybe I'll go to 700, maybe I'll go to 1,000, then maybe 2,000 and 5,000. But that takes 3 years to get to a $60,000 deal. When I can have a good salesperson come in and do a $60,000 deal right out of the gate, and this is the argument you and I mean, you and I've talked about this because we share that pain of like, how do we get that? We want that revenue faster.
Yeah. Well, if that's your comp is built on. But anyways, we could talk about this all day, I think. But
yeah, no shit.
I do have to run. So
no, let's
thanks
roll.
for everybody.
Yeah, dude. Always good to see you.
Yeah. All right, man. See you next time. All right,
absolutely.
goodbye.